Welcome to the Somewhat Frank podcast, hosted by entrepreneur, author, and investor Frank Gruber, and joined by entrepreneur, lawyer, and investor John Guidos. After each having successful startup exits, these two college friends cover a wide array of the latest trends and topics in tech, startups, investing, entertainment, and life. You'll notice they like to live life to the fullest with lots of adventure and believe in celebrating those important wins along the way. The podcast is produced with the help of Established, a strategic consultancy focused on corporate innovation, entrepreneurs, and the ecosystems that support and elevate them. Now it's time to be somewhat frank. Let's get to it.
Welcome back to the Somewhat Frank podcast. I'm Frank Gruber, your host. I'm here joined by my longtime friend, colleague, and adventurer, Johnny Goodtimes Guidos. How you doing, buddy?
Howdy, Frank. Doing well, recuperating after the holidays, but feeling good, ready to roll into the new year.
Same here. We're in that little, that week between, right? Like, what do people do in that week between, like, the holidays, whether it be either Christmas or Hanukkah and the new year, right? Like, I guess Kwanzaa. I don't know what else is going on, but there's definitely that break and lull. And I'm curious, what do you do, John?
You know, not a whole heck of a lot, but I did go out to run some errands yesterday, and all the stores were absolutely packed. Gas stations were packed, car washes were packed. So I think people have come out of their hibernation. I think they're doing a lot of returns right now in this week between holidays. But I don't know, there's been a lot of people out. Have you noticed the same thing?
Yeah, I think if you realize, it's actually the only week that I feel like it's okay to, like, be off, like, offline. Like, I don't know if you, like, it's a time when anybody and everybody can be offline, and it seems like it's acceptable, or more acceptable, I guess you could say, than any other time. But I see a lot of people vacationing. I see, some people are on their regular trip to wherever. But I did see a lot of people out and about doing the returns, and I've just been kind of, doing that thing where we just kind of catch up. It's like recover a little bit, catch up with family. It's that vacation mode, I guess you could say, where we're just getting through it. So, but yeah, like, I'm definitely looking forward to the new year and what that has to bring. But trying to do things like watch movies and things that I haven't had time to do.
Important stuff. Yep, I hear
Important stuff. Read books, watch movies, make art, make music, all those things. Lots of fun. But yeah, so looking forward to New Year. We got a lot on our plate today. But before we do, prior to the new year, I wanted to share a couple things I've been up to. So I was actually involved with Techstars again this year as a mentor, and they have their class in Maine. And I was actually a mentor for one of the companies. It's a really interesting company. It's actually Circla. That's how you say it. It's kind of an interesting spelling. It's CICLA 3D. So Cicla 3D, which has to do with, like, this circular economy. And basically, they're a group out of Chile, but they moved to Portland, Maine for the cohort, and they're doing some interesting things with basically turning plastic from what would be like, computers and whatnot into pellets that then can be reused and sold back to those companies to basically reuse and make into additional products. So pretty cool company doing some interesting things to save the planet. So I wanted to give them a quick shout out because they did a fantastic job, and I got a chance to talk to them pretty much every week over the last 8 or 9 weeks, and now they're done with the program. So looking out for some fundraising and looking at making Maine actually their U.S. headquarters, so Portland, Maine. So good stuff. So check that out in the show notes.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting, and a great, really smart team. Had a great pitch, and obviously doing it in his first language, which is hard. I can't imagine what that would be like doing it in a different language. Try to go pitch my thing in Spanish or something like that. Even though I did take some Spanish, it would not go off as well as they did. So Rogers did a great job. He's the founder and CEO, and just go check out Circla if you get a chance. Circa 3D. All right. So what else we got? We got today is going to be all about one topic and one topic only. Well, we'll probably give you some shout outs on what we've been watching too, but and as we go into this, like, week of the holidays, but we're going to talk about AI. AI is in the news nonstop right now, and it's all about you leveraging artificial intelligence to create, and it's really come to that point where it's actually usable now in the forefront for consumers. So I think that's what this topic and what we're going to talk about. And I'm excited about bringing a couple different I guess you could say angles to it and different topics. So the first one is kind of going to be really interesting for like people that like art and like to draw and do things like that. And it went viral the last couple of weeks. I don't know if you did, John, but I don't know if everyone saw it. But basically, there's this app called Lensa, and it's taking over it. Lensa.ai. You can basically go out and create your own portrait. You do have to pay for it. There's a subscription you pay, and you pay like $7, or if you want the year, you can do a bunch more. But it takes a couple images of you and turns you into a lot of different things. And it's all driven by AI. Artificial intelligence is drawing up all these different options. What do you think of it, John?
I thought it was really cool. I've played and toyed around with a few other platforms that do similar work. It's really I guess the highest quality that I've seen so far in terms of manipulating people's portraits into, whether it be warriors or, space people or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, I guess the quality is getting better, which I think is the next step with some of this technology. Is now that the building blocks are there, it's continuing to iterate and make better quality products.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about it is there's obviously the pros and the cons, right? The pros are, wow, like I can get my portrait done and it's pretty interesting and looks really cool, and I can make myself into an astronaut or into like one of those cool Wall Street Journal images or whatever, based off of just putting a couple images in there pretty quickly. Obviously raising concerns of the technology and who you're uploading a lot of images to a company who has now probably millions of people's headshots. And so there's a whole question about what's that going to be used for and who's going to hold on to it and all that. But, just from an AI perspective, they were able to somehow train the AI to come up with these images in different kind of, I guess, styles and almost like filters on, your Instagram, right? It's got all these different versions of yourself and taking the same pictures and kind of creating that version of you. So I thought it was really good. I mean, there's definitely other programs that are more hard, more difficult for people to use, or a bigger hurdle for people to try to use. But this one is very consumer focused and easy. Anybody can use it pretty much that has money. So it has a phone, right? And yeah, so I think from your perspective, yes, definitely interesting. Definitely some privacy policy issues potentially with the face data, and people have raised those concerns. Some of the images, like I don't know if you looked at, like we had Jen's done as well. She's not on the podcast today, but Jen's version of those images versus my version are different versus your version, right? Like your version and my version are very like masculine and like we're warriors out in the field and we are or astronauts or whatever. They're very thematic, whereas a lot of the women's images are very over sexualized images. Like there's like they're either very like damsel in distress-ish or fairy like or like very non-clothed in some cases. So yeah, so there's definitely some concerns around that. And yeah, so I think those are the kind of things I'm hearing out on the internet, I guess you could say. Very much the women's side though is very much fantasy art-ish, and the focus is definitely been, or the attention has definitely been raised around that. So I definitely think
I wonder where they're getting those themes from, right? Are they sourcing that as a theme on the internet, or where exactly? Because it's coming from somewhere, or is that part of the AI being programmed, which I believe undermines the idea of AI.
Everyone has biases, though, right?
My attorney hat on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good or bad. I mean, because the theme of the internet historically could have been over sexualizing women, as you mentioned, right? Versus people now want to empower and this and that, which may be relatively new. That's what I'm trying to say is where's that coming from, right?
It's biases, right? Like whoever created that AI has bias, right? And that's bias is somehow being inherently absorbed and then amplified. And so I think that's what you're seeing. I'd be very surprised if that wasn't the case. And so we've seen this over and over again with different AI-driven kind of tools. I think we saw it with initially Microsoft put something out a few years ago where they were literally put something onto Twitter and it blew up and was started to create like bot that basically turned into like a Nazi bot and within like not very long, because it was absorbing things and it just based off the biases it had and just everything around it. So definitely seen this kind of happen before, but that is the one kind of poke, I guess you could say, at the product such, so thus far is that it's a little bit skews that way. So we'll see if they improve it and continue to be, get better. It's still very early in what this is with AI art. The other knock to it could be the portrait artists, right? Like people that used to paint portraits, or photographers that used to take photos of portrait people, right? Like portrait photographers. Are they going to be concerned about that, right? Because we're literally putting this in for $7 and getting a bunch of portraits that I can use as my avatar on things. And funny enough, I just used it for something that was actually more professional too.
Sure, and that kind of gets back to the point I was alluding to earlier. Is using my attorney hat again? What is the implications for intellectual property? Right. So, for example, if I said, "Hey, AI program, make me a logo for some new product that I'm coming up with," and I get a great logo, and I utilize that, could that platform then come back and say, "Hey, our code made that for you. We're suing you for X amount of dollars in damages," right? So, for infringement, rather. That's actually one of the first things that comes to my mind. I think there's going to be a whole new, category of law dedicated strictly to this AI tool that everybody's utilizing. And honestly, I know that it's really top of mind and newsworthy right now. But I'm still of the mindset of it's a tool, right? Just like anything else that we've used for,
right,
whether it be a word processor. Well, it helps us type better now, and it's
right.
It's AI. It's a tool. It helps us think differently, et cetera, and maybe create things more efficiently and those sorts of things. So
that's a great point. That's a great point, John. And you just brought up a great point about this, the ethics around the algorithm and who owns what. And, with Lensa, for example, the terms of use give Lensa perpetual, non-exclusive, royalty-free, worldwide, full paid, transferable, sub-licensable license to the portraits created in the app. So basically they own those, right? Isn't that what that means?
Sounds like it's me.
Yeah, right. So now they own your face, which is crazy. And they own your face and my face and everyone's face. I mean, granted, it's not our face, but it pretty much looks like our face. So, yeah, maybe it looks a little better because they touched it up a little bit. So
right.
Yeah, it made me have like a sword in my, in my hand or whatever. It's crazy stuff. But yeah, so it's interesting. I'll continue to watch it, and all those images that Lens is creating are, part of, they're on AWS and cloud services from Amazon. So it has its own, terms. So there's a lot of questions around where is that, who owns what. But from a don't worry about anything kind of perspective, it's fun. I like it. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting to see the AI getting smarter and better. So I like to continue. I mean, they're going to push the bar and others are going to jump in and make it even better. So we're seeing that happen. And then we can switch gears and now talk about this other AI kind of driven product that it's been just getting tons of coverage, and it's called ChatGPT, which was created by OpenAI. And OpenAI is a company that's been working on AI for a little while. It has some pretty heavy hitters involved from Silicon Valley, and basically, it was founders include Elon Musk and ex-Y Combinator Sam Altman, and they actually have raised, basically invested in it. It's nonprofit actually, OpenAI is, but they've now they're looking to raise funds, and Microsoft has an interest in putting in, $1 billion in that company, and it's basically got some interesting things going on, right? So let's talk a little bit about what it's doing. And for those that aren't familiar, it's an app, right? You can get it on your phone. You can download it and ask it to, do some different things. And we tested it, and you can ask it pretty much any question, just like a search, right? So it's now competitive to Google. So I'll share an article in the show notes, but more or less, Google is kind of scrambling right now. They think it's a serious threat to their business, and they're trying to figure out what they should do about it. So I don't know, John, you tested it out a bunch, and I'd love to get your take.
It's interesting, right? And I talked when we were chatting earlier. I think it's a good tool. What I'm interested in, and what we were just talking about, this conversation brings up to me is, what's the real value if they're producing something for you that they still own, right? It's like good for coming up with new ideas to maybe spur another. It's like a brainstorming tool, basically. But what I've liked about it in testing it is you can literally say to this platform, this app, type me a 5-page paper on diversity in the workplace. And you can watch it in real time, typing this article for you. And it uses the the general or the industry standard format of writing an article. It is pretty interesting how it works. I haven't been able to get it to do any images yet, which I want to test a little bit later. But I know that some of the articles that we're going to put in the show notes allude to the issues that universities or educators are going to have with making sure that the students aren't plagiarizing these articles. Because I mean, honestly, you can get a 5-page paper knocked out in 30 seconds these days. So it is a good tool. I do see why Google would be concerned. However, it's not. It's not exactly the same thing, right? Google is still a good resource for searching. This just actually does the searching for you and then puts it into a format that could be consumable by others from what I see so far. And I know there's a lot of other applications as well, but that's kind of what I've been messing with so far. What do you think about it, Frank?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So it's creating something that will save you enormous amount of time. And let's say you needed that paper on diversity, like you just said, for college or high school or whatever. And that could potentially save you hours. And then you just use that as your draft and you update it with information, and boom, you have an article, or a thesis or whatever you're trying to write, and or paper. And I guess the bottom line is that will that's gonna be hard for people to determine where that's coming from, right? Like it's going to be really hard. So definitely puts up some obstacles. I actually asked my sister-in-law is actually a professor. She's a professor at Concordia out in Montreal, and she's in game studies and communications. So I asked her this about this. Is all the rage right now in academia is this particular product, because of the fact that it is going to cause some problems. Think about every time you apply for a school, they make you write like a couple different like articles or things about yourself, right? To submit with your packet, I guess you could say. And those writing samples could be written by an AI, right? So they're gonna do away with that probably, right? Now it's gonna be more based off of like in person or Zoom chat, like questions. Like now it's turned into an interview process versus a written thing. So I wanted to insert though. I actually asked Mia Consalvo about some things. She's a professor with doctorate in this very topic in gaming and communications about it. And I wanted to just jump in and let's take a listen on what she has to say. So I'm here with Mia Consalvo. She's a professor at Concordia in Montreal. I think you're got an expertise in gaming and communications, and want to get your take on this new technology and what people are using this AI for, and how it's impacting education.
Well, everyone is talking about it for sure, and they've been running tests, like running their assignments through it to see. They even had the ChatGPT create a syllabus. So in a way, I could even use it myself if I didn't want to put a syllabus together. But everyone's worried. I mean, cheating has always been a problem. At first, people would copy stuff off the internet. Then they would hire someone to write an essay for them or ask someone they knew. And now it's just a machine that can do it. And so I think it's causing people to rethink, what is it that you are going to the university for? What is it that you really want to get out of it? Because we used to think people were smart if they knew a lot of things, if they memorized a lot of stuff. But now you can just look up so much stuff online or in your phone. You don't need to memorize things. And so how can you demonstrate that you're smart in a way that a machine can't replicate? So that's the question that everyone's dealing with right now.
So would it be more like interviews, like in person? Like, what are you thinking there?
Yeah, some of it is definitely, going to either interviews, portfolios, like asking people to do maybe their work in person in front of you so they can't fake it. But, there are some things that maybe you don't really need to know how to do anymore, like write a short, pithy essay. And so, you think about, or you say to yourself, like, if I have them build a game and then I have them write an assignment about it, like reflecting on it and using some readings, I mean, it's pretty hard for an AI to replicate that experience. But then the other question is, and honestly, I think a lot of what gets ignored is that, sure, there are some people who will want to cheat and use this, the people who already think of university as just a credential. But for a lot of people, they really want to learn and figure out how to do things. And so for them, they just want to do those things. They don't want necessarily a machine to do it for them, right?
No, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So what are you thinking? Is there ways that you might want to leverage this or use it in class or have assignments around it?
Well, I've already had students talking about it. I teach mostly grad students, and most of them are there because they want to be and hopefully want to do the work on their own. But one of the things that we talk about in games is, AI in games, and how do people relate to AI, and how do they, like, what's their decision-making process? Because for some people, they don't want to cheat, even if they knew they could get away with it, because to them, it's only cheating themselves. And so how can you maybe create games or experiences where people can think on and reflect through those things, and then, come to the decision like, oh, I wouldn't want to use this anyway because, it's not getting me really what I ultimately want. Or if, it is something that they would want to use, what are other ways that we can, test them or teach them or help them get to where they want to go.
All right. Thanks so much. Appreciate your input and thoughts.
Thank you.
All right. So it's obviously really interesting in academia. What else is it impacting, Johnny?
Well, so I had a similar conversation with my brother, who's working on his PhD, and then also my wife that's in education as well. And I guess there is some software out there right now called CopyLinks. I'm unfamiliar with it, but they were mentioning that, for example, teachers these days can upload a student's article to what's called CopyLinks, and it'll search the internet or search whatever to make sure that it's not plagiarized. So, but how do you do that with an AI platform, right? I mean, it's supposed to be if it is actual AI in its purest form, it's all supposed to be brand new, right? So I don't know. I think that there's going to be some ancillary type, whatever you want to call it, industries that are utilized to track, as I mentioned before, like IP, and then also utilized to make sure that nobody's plagiarizing, those sorts of things. So I think this is all in its infancy right now. It's very exciting. I'm not as concerned as others, famous last words, right? But right now I think it's a great tool, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I think it's going to definitely evolve and get better and smarter, because I asked it to write an article about the upcoming Chicago Cubs 2023 season, and it started writing it, and the first paragraph was perfect. The second one was not correct. It started saying, well, they signed this player and that player. They didn't sign any of those players. It was totally off. So yes, it would be great for like a first draft if you're writing an article and then you could plug in the right information. It's almost like creating that template for you, because that's basically what it's probably basing it off of, right? Some kind of template that it's got. So it was interesting. I mean, it still wasn't 100% accurate, but it could have saved people. If you're a writer or thinking about writing about the 2023 Cubs, it would save you a lot of time, right? And so I think about it from a news perspective. That's what I was thinking about from just running, previous companies and thinking about being in media for a while. You got this thing that could now create articles faster and pretty close. You're still going to have to tweak them, but pretty close. And so it could save people time. It could put out more news. There already is so much news being written and covered and on the internet, right? And so this could just add to that issue of more and not having enough time to consume. But I'm thinking about, could it make movies? Could it do, like, what else can it do? Is it going to just, what are we going to do? Are we just going to be consumers from now on? Just asking this tools like this to do stuff for us? I mean, quite possibly. So that's interesting. And that's kind of where I see it going. It's just we're really super early.
Right. So think about that. Right now it's in its infancy, but, at some point, hey, app, make me a movie starring Tom Cruise where he's, fighting aliens from a different planet. And It makes you a 2.5 hour movie. So, and, with the progress of machine learning and these coders and their ability to learn and clean things up as they move forward, It's going to be pretty powerful. But again, I'm really interested in some of these other, I don't even know what the word is for, derivative type of pieces of software that can manage and track and those sorts of things. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, it could even help in things like health. Like I saw an article somebody wrote about, there was like this report in the Journal of Digital Health about a Drexel study that said that this natural language learning processing program was able to predict Alzheimer's in its current, research, suggesting that, it could definitely, pick up certain impairments and indicators for that disease with an 80% accuracy, which is pretty phenomenal. So it's like, that's pretty, I mean, this, and like I said, this is like version 0.01 or whatever we've just seen. It's not like it's very beta, right? Like I said, it's still not able to know what the deal is with the Chicago Cubs, but it can figure that out, which is pretty interesting. So it does certain things better than others, and we're still working with what that's going to be. And I assume it's learning as it goes. So I can't imagine, down the road here that it could do a lot more from an like medical perspective, and like, trying to do things from home. Like you'd be able to diagnose yourself by asking AI versus going to a doctor. That's freaking crazy, right? Like at least to 80% accuracy on certain things. So obviously not your Swiss Army knife of everything, but like it's not something we could have done like 10 years ago. So pretty cool to see this kind of transition and transactional kind of question answer kind of thing happening. It reminds me a little bit of Ask Jeeves back in the day. I think that maybe that's what Ask Jeeves was supposed to do, like that early search engine, like you ask it a question and it's able to answer. Like kind of reminds me of that a little bit. So really intriguing.
Definitely.
Yeah, all right, so
go ahead.
We talk about AI quite a bit. We're going to continue to watch it, and it's definitely going to be in the news. So if you see it, pay attention, try to learn it, test it out, see what you think. Love to get your feedback. You can always send us notes at somewhatfrank@est.us if you got thoughts about anything we've talked about on this program. We're going to switch gears a little bit, talk a little more about some of the entertainment things we've been up to, content-wise. Johnny, I know we like to talk about things we're watching, things we're reading, things we're consuming. Want to get your take on what you've been up to over the last couple weeks.
Lots of consuming with the holidays here because we had some time off, right?
Right?
We what did we watch? We finished The White Lotus, the most recent season 2, which was pretty. I thought the ending was really good. The rest of it was
okay. Well, quick. If anyone hasn't watched yet, spoiler alert, right? Do not continue to listen. Fast forward. I also agree with you. I thought it was really good. It got better as it progressed. It was very slow, right? From the beginning, It was very slow in this season, but it got better and better. And then, obviously that ending was very interesting. I'm not going to give it away, but there's some people that are not happy about it. There's whole articles in the New York Times and others about how maybe there's an alternative ending because they didn't love the way that it went down. So definitely check it out if you haven't. It's a great program. Not a family show by any means, but interesting for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. And then we were into the 3rd season, I think it is, of Emily in Paris. I don't know if you've watched any of it.
Oh yeah, we've already watched the whole 3rd season. Yep.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You're knocking it out.
Knocking it out.
You're really
getting it done.
Really into it.
Yep.
Sure thing. How about you? What else are you guys watching?
No, those were 2. I mean, we definitely watched both of those, and then the one that like Christmas day or the day after Christmas, we were able to like kind of relax for the first time in a while. I haven't watched any movies or anything. Here I am talking about all these shows, but I'm seeing the kind of the death of the movie for me. Like I don't know if you're seeing this as well, but because of like my current schedule and like having a little one, and like by the time it's time to like watch a movie, most of the movies that you can't watch with a little one, right? So by the time it's time to watch like an adult movie or something, I'm already exhausted and I don't have enough time to watch it. Like I'm like, okay, it's late. I don't want to watch a 2-hour movie or 2.5 hour movie. It'll be like way past midnight. I'm exhausted. I don't really want to do that right now. So we don't watch movies anymore. We watch shorts, like things like Emily in Paris and others that are kind of clippy and short, and you can watch a couple and be done and then actually get rest, because sleep is super important to me and to most people probably. But anyway, so that's kind of been our issue. So we actually got a chance to sit down and watch. We watched The Christmas Story, which is old and I've seen a million times, from 1983, and then watched it back to back with the new one that came out around Thanksgiving time, which was Christmas Story Christmas, which is redone and also continues to have Ralphie in it, but his older version. And I thought it was, if you watch them back to back, or you see the kind of parallels and everything that you may have forgotten if you hadn't seen the other first one in a while. But I think they did a phenomenal job pulling those together and making them tie together so nicely.
I really enjoyed it. It's again, spoiler alert. It's a little has some sad parts in it, but it was. Yeah. I think it really kept in line with the first one. And I'll tell you what, I got pretty. I'm not a big crier, not super emotional about things, but I got really choked up at the end, and both my mother and my father had visible tears at the end of that movie. So
it's a tearjerker.
It's not bad tears. It's like
circle life.
Good.
Yeah.
Right. It's a good movie. So
yeah, it really is. And I think actually our entire family liked it. Like even our little one liked it, and I was surprised. Like she got into the first one too. She's like, I don't want to watch this. It's not a cartoon, kind of thing. And sure enough, she really enjoyed it and enjoyed the second one too. So definitely worth watching if you haven't. And I just was happy for what was that, 4 hours of sitting down and watching movies continuously without having to get interrupted, which I don't know the last time that's happened. Honestly, it was kind of wild.
Yeah, definitely. Frank, I wanted to ask you, did you see Maverick, the new Top Gun movie yet?
I got in trouble. So yes, I watched it. We went on a work trip and came back. We watched it on the plane. And I got back and told Jen about it. She got mad because she thought, she's like, you didn't save it and wait for me. And I'm like, no, I couldn't. I was on a plane for 3 or 4 hours. I needed to wait, watch something, and it was the only thing. So I watched it. It's really good. Really, really good.
So I wasn't a huge fan of the first Top Gun, so I was reluctant to watch the second one. I knew I'd watch it at some point, but I dragged my heels on it, and I did watch it, and I really enjoyed it. It was very well done. You could tell it's a blockbuster. They did it right. The one thing I wanted to mention was, and my brother brought this up to me, was there's theories out there, I guess, conspiracy theories, that the movie is actually, the beginning of the movie, spoiler alert here again, but the beginning of the movie, he goes in some sort of new jet, and he's able to break Mach 10, which I guess is it's impossible for humans to break Mach 10. His plane blows up. He's able to survive it, but then the rest of the movie proceeds. But the theory is that he actually died in that test flight, and the rest of the movie is actually him in heaven. He reconciles with his. He goes on this impossible mission, which they succeed in. He gets with his long lost love over many years. He reconciles with his former wingman who passed away's son. That they had a rough relationship, and he rides off into the sunset. So the more and more I think about it, the more and more I actually think that that's a pretty good theory that might have actually happened. Because as you know, the movie is so almost impossible what happened in it that but it is a movie. Anyways, I like that theory. I thought that could be a possibility.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about that. I was just like, oh, this is great. I wasn't I wasn't really thinking as deeply, I guess, about it, because he kind of, it has some of that 1980s-ish kind of I don't know. Like you said, it's almost impossible.
They walk across the runway in enemy territory and grab one of the old jets and fly it off to victory.
That's very believable. Yeah, that definitely happened. Definitely worth watching. I enjoyed it, and I actually recommended it to somebody yesterday actually as a movie that you can watch with a family. They would probably all enjoy it, kind of thing. So probably not young kids though. Kids, I don't know. Did young kids watch that? I don't know. It did have some weird kind of racy parts in there, but anyway,
they probably could, but I don't know if they'd understand it. But anyway,
right? Exactly. So definitely check that out. Good flick, especially right now if you've got time. Did not go to Avatar yet. I want to go check that out. I saw Avatar 1 in the theater in 3D, and it was pretty awesome, but I haven't had a chance to break away and do that. That's out there. I'm going to try to do that maybe this week sometime if I can. Haven't been going to the theater as much though, honestly. Just been chugging along. I'm going to try to get on some skis this week as well. I know it's that time of season, so I'm going to try to see if I can get some skis going. But before we wrap, and I know we're kind of at time here, I wanted to definitely talk about what's coming up next week or the week after, whenever you hear this. It'll be the beginning of the year, which will be a new year, 2023, which is weird to say still. But I'm going to be at CES in Las Vegas. So heading to Las Vegas, we're going to do a couple different things out in Vegas. I haven't been to Vegas in a while. I used to live there, so it's going to be interesting to see some friends and catch up. And it'll be the first time I've been back actually since the passing of Tony Hsieh, which is going to be kind of different. So definitely interesting to see what that's going to look like. But also wanted to mention that we're going to be doing a Startup of the Year event, coffee event, on the 6th in the morning. So you can go out and check that out on Startup of the Year and learn more about that event if you're interested, if you're a startup or an investor and want to come to it. It's a morning event before things get kicked off. Some coffee on us and then head on your day. And then, we're doing some things. There's a big event for the Consumer Technology Association Foundation where they've got 9 companies pitching for a chance at some prizes and money and exposure, and even a chance to be on the Startup of the Year podcast, which is one of our podcasts. So excited about that. And that'll be on the 6th as well. So we're action-packed day on January 6th in Las Vegas, not to mention the fact that CES is happening. And on top of that, we're doing a bunch of stuff with some of our different clients there as well. So America's Seed Fund will be there with and others. So lots going on in Vegas. I'll be there for a few days and looking forward to getting all that knocked out here soon. So if you're in the area, you want to learn more, definitely reach out to somewhatfrank at est.us and learn more about some of those things, or just check out the show notes and hopefully we'll see you in Vegas. Anything else going on, Johnny?
That's about it, Frank. I wish you, the best in this new year and all of our listeners, and excited to bring everybody some more content, some more episodes. So look for that coming out. It's coming out soon.
We're on number 40, John. Number 40. Episode number 40. 40. Yeah. Big 40. We're over the hill. 40. We're over the hill. We're over the hill now, I think. Yeah.
40 episodes here, and then over 100 on our Startup of the Year podcast as well. So we're cranking them out. We're trying to give the listeners what they want.
Exactly. We get a lot of feedback. So appreciate everyone that listens. And thanks again. Happy New Year to everybody out there. Be safe. And looking forward to 2023. It's going to be a good one. And thank you again for listening. And we'll be back soon with more of our insights and all these different new things happening in technology, entrepreneurship, startups, everything else we like to enjoy. Talk to you soon. Thanks so much for listening.
Thanks for listening to another Somewhat Frank podcast episode. Be sure to rate and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to celebrate your wins, small and large, with gratitude. It will make your journey more enjoyable. We'll be back soon with another episode.